Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today, I'd like to introduce you to the Tale of Genji, a literary masterpiece that is not only considered one of the greatest classics of Japanese literature, but is also regarded as the world's earliest full-length novel. Some of you might have heard it referred to by that title before. But the Tale of Genji is far more than just a love story. Set in the imperial court of the Heian period, around 1,000 years ago, it weaves together power struggles, affection, jealousy, and transience, all told through the pen of a brilliant woman known as Murasaki Shikibu. How was she able to depict such a richly nuanced world, one that still resonates with readers today, and why does it continue to fascinate us a millennium later? Let's delve into the author, the work, and the cultural context behind this remarkable tale. Number 1. Murasaki Shikibu's background and the work's inspiration. We'll begin by focusing on the author herself, Murasaki Shikibu. She lived from the late 10th to the early 11th century. Although her real name remains unknown, we do know she was the daughter of a scholarly noble, Fujiwara no Tomitoki. From an early age, she was exposed to a high level of education, unusually so for a woman of her time, by secretly listening in on her father teaching her brother classical Chinese. During this era, men typically wrote official documents in Chinese, while women composed diaries and poetry in the Japanese syllabary, kana. Murasaki Shikibu, however, managed to bridge this gender-based linguistic divide and cultivate a deep literary sensibility. After marrying relatively young and then losing her husband to an early death, she entered the service of Fujiwara no Michinaga at the imperial court, where she attended Empress Shoshi, or Empress Akiko. This court environment was like a literary salon, drawing other talented women such as the poet Izumi Shikibu and the writer Akazome Emin. Murasaki's own experiences and insight into both politics and romance would greatly influence the depth and realism of the Tale of Genji. Interestingly, another contemporary literary figure, Sei Shonagon, was serving a rival empress at a different court and writing the Pillow Book. Murasaki's diary reveals a somewhat critical view of Sei Shonagon, suggesting a subtle rivalry that may have pushed Murasaki's writing to even greater sophistication. The result is that the Tale of Genji became not just a romance novel, but a comprehensive portrait of courtly life, brought to life by an author who experienced the inner workings of the Heian court firsthand. Number 2. The birth of Hikaru Genji. How the story begins. Now, let's turn to the opening of the Tale of Genji. The story centers on Hikaru Genji, also called the Shining Prince. He is the son of Emperor Karitsubo and his beloved consort, Karitsubo no Koi, a lady of low rank. Because of the emperor's profound affection for this low-ranking consort, she becomes the target of jealousy and harassment by other ladies at court, leading to her early death. This leaves Genji motherless at a young age. To avoid conflict in the ongoing battle over imperial succession, the emperor decides to remove Genji from the royal line altogether, giving him the surname, Genji. In the eyes of the court, Genji is no longer a direct heir to the throne, yet he remains undeniably special due to his striking beauty and talents. From the very beginning, therefore, Genji's character is defined by both radiance and sorrow. He bears emotional scars from losing his mother, and the complicated political status resulting from his removal from the line of succession. At the same time, he captivates everyone with his remarkable elegance, talents in poetry, and refined manners. Interestingly, some interpretations suggest that Genji's repeated romantic entanglements with various women are partly driven by his search for his mother's lost presence, giving the novel an unusually deep psychological dimension for its time. Number 3. The splendor of court life and complex love affairs. As Genji grows into adulthood, he becomes the epitome of the Heian court's aesthetic ideals: graceful, well-versed in music and poetry, and unparalleled in beauty. Many court ladies find themselves enchanted by him. Yet this popularity also sows the seeds of conflict. His romantic liaisons stir up jealousy and heartbreak. For example, Genji's former wife, Lady Aoi, is older than him and comes from a prestigious family. Their marriage is strained, and tragically, she dies soon after giving birth. He also harbors a secret, forbidden love for Lady Fujitsubo, a new imperial consort who uncannily resembles Genji's late mother. Eventually, they have a child in secret, a boy who will become the crown prince, forcing Genji to live with a burden of guilt and secrecy. Meanwhile, the novel delves into supernatural elements reflective of Heian beliefs. Lady Rokuho becomes consumed by jealousy and is believed to manifest as a living spirit, Ikiryo, harming those Genji cares for, such as the gentle Yugo, who dies mysteriously. These episodes underscore how claustrophobic life could be within the aristocratic court, soaked in aesthetic elegance on the surface, yet teeming with bitterness, envy, and spiritual dread underneath. Number 4. Lady Murasaki. The search for an ideal partner among Genji's many relationships, one stands out in particular. His encounter with the young girl who will later be known as Murasaki no Yu. She is actually a niece of Lady Fujitsubo, and her resemblance to Fujitsubo catches Genji's attention. He essentially adopts her into his household from a tender age, raising and educating her into what he deems the perfect partner. Viewed through a modern lens, this setup might appear questionable. But in the Heian court context, the idea of personally cultivating a young girl into one's ideal companion was not entirely unheard of. Over time, Murasaki no Yu becomes Genji's most cherished confidant and wife. Yet even this seemingly perfect relationship is marred by the reality of Genji's other women, who cause Murasaki to experience her own sadness and jealousy. Through this dynamic, Murasaki Shikibu explores the tension between romantic ideals and the imperfect realities of human desire. Thus, Genji emerges not as a flawless hero, but as a deeply human figure torn between his longing for maternal love, his attraction to multiple women, and his inability to settle on a single partner. Number 5. Exile in Suma and Akashi, Solitude and Renewal. Despite his shining reputation, Genji eventually becomes embroiled in scandals and political maneuvers within the court. As a result, he is exiled from the capital to Suma and later Akashi, marking a dramatic turning point in his life. Gone are the lively salons and grand festivals. Now Genji must endure the harsh, lonely seaside, composing poems about the wind and waves. This exile paints an entirely different portrait of the man once so admired. Yet in Akashi, he meets the Lady of Akashi, who bears him a daughter. This daughter will one day marry into the imperial family as an empress, thus continuing Genji's lineage in a powerful new way. When political tides turn in his favor, and after receiving what is implied to be spiritual guidance from his late father, Genji is invited to return to the capital. His comeback coincides with a surge in status. He reaches the height of power and splendor. However, the narrative suggests that the more success Genji achieves, the deeper his sense of emptiness becomes. This part of the story reflects a Buddhist-influenced consciousness of impermanence and the vanity of worldly pursuits. Number 6. Triumph and Inner Turmoil. The third princess, Kashiwagi, and Lady Murasaki back in the capital, Genji secures a position of great influence, effectively supporting an emperor who, unbeknownst to the court, is Genji's own secret son. His prestige grows, yet his domestic sphere becomes increasingly complicated. He marries the young third princess, Ona-san no Miya, hoping to guide her with paternal-like affection. But she has an affair with Kashiwagi, Genji's nephew, and becomes pregnant. This incident mirrors the secret liaison between Genji and Fujitsubo in the novel's earlier chapters. It acts like a karmic retribution, echoing Genji's earlier transgression and heightening his internal guilt. Throughout all this, Murasaki no Yu suffers deeply. Despite being Genji's closest partner, she witnesses his continued pursuit of other relationships. Watching her gradual decline reveals how unattainable Genji's idealized vision of love truly is. Here, Murasaki Shikibu emphasizes the Buddhist notion that human desires are fraught with impermanence, and actions have inescapable consequences. Even the illustrious, shining prince, is not immune to suffering brought on by his own indiscretions. Number 7. Vanishing Light. The loss of Murasaki and Genji's departure. In the latter part of the story, Murasaki no Yu falls gravely ill and dies, leaving Genji reeling in sorrow. Grief-stricken, he begins to contemplate the meaninglessness of worldly power. Not long after, in a chapter titled, Kumobikure, meaning, vanished into the clouds, Genji disappears from the narrative entirely, without a clearly stated death scene. This abrupt, almost meta-literary technique, naming the chapter but leaving it blank, is highly unusual for the period. By omitting Genji's death, the author invites readers to imagine how his end came about, creating a profound sense of resonant silence. It also underscores Murasaki Shikibu's innovative approach to storytelling, weaving in elements of Buddhist transience. Though he once dominated the narrative, Genji slips away, leaving us with an impression of life's fragility and impermanence. Number 8. The Uji Chapters, Legacy and Lingering Emotions. Yet the tale of Genji does not conclude with Genji's departure. The final 10 chapters, known as the Uji Jujo, Uji Chapters, shift the focus to the next generation, primarily to Kaoru and Niu. Kaoru is the son of the third princess and Kashiwagi, not Genji's biological child, and is depicted with a mysterious, pleasant fragrance emanating from his body. He grows up grappling with his uncertain birth and personal conflicts. Set in Uji, some distance from the capital, these chapters explore new relationships and heartbreaks, intensifying the novel's central themes of longing and the fleeting nature of love. The story ends without offering a perfectly clear resolution. Instead, it leaves us with a bittersweet sense of mano no aware, the poignant appreciation of life's ephemerality, so crucial to the Heian worldview. In this final section, we see how the cycles of love, sorrow, and karmic entanglements persist, suggesting that the tapestry of human relationships transcends any single individual's life. Number 9. Analysis. Why does the tale of Genji still matter? Why does the tale of Genji continue to captivate readers and inspire scholars more than 1,000 years after its creation? Firstly, it speaks to universal human emotions: love, jealousy, regret, ambition, and the search for meaning. The novel's portrayal of romantic intrigue, political drama, and spiritual unease resonates with modern audiences far removed from the Heian court. Secondly, Murasaki Shikibu's first-hand knowledge of court culture, its formalities, rivalries, and aesthetic pursuits, lends an unparalleled authenticity to the narrative. Reading Genji is akin to stepping into the Heian period, where a single poem could decide the fate of a romance, and the fear of spirits or social scandal shape daily life. Moreover, the novel intertwines Buddhist concepts of impermanence, mujo, and the transitory nature of worldly success, suggesting that no matter how privileged one may be, suffering and change are inevitable. For contemporary readers, imagining the aristocrat's reliance on poetry and handwritten letters might resemble our modern obsession with messaging apps and social media. Even though the mediums differ, the human inclination to connect, impress, and occasionally deceive remains strikingly similar. So there you have it, the tale of Genji, a monumental work that Murasaki Shikibu crafted out of her own experiences at the heart of the Heian court, melding literary artistry with astute observation of human nature. Inside this epic story, you'll find vivid depictions of love, loss, the weight of social status, and reflections on the transitory nature of all things. Elements that still resonate in our modern lives. If you're intrigued but feel the original text might be daunting, fear not. There are numerous ways to experience the tale of Genji, including modern Japanese translations, English editions, manga adaptations, and even anime. Any of these can serve as a gateway to this remarkable world. I hope this overview inspires you to explore the tale of Genji in more depth. Here on this channel, I'll continue to delve into the richness of Japanese literature, history, and culture. If you found this presentation enjoyable or helpful, please consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. And of course, feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.